After a tough scrimmage, Jackson Arnold has had 2 really good bounce back practices. Let's break it down.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. I got everyone's favorite Taylor Corn on today, and we're going to break down Jackson's big bounce back practices, how we felt after Friday. Are we feeling better now? Talk about the scrimmage formats and, what does it mean when people say it doesn't really favor the offense? And then we're going to talk about the play calling duties. That became a pretty big headline today as well. So we're going to break all that down in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to rowback.com. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. They just dropped some new Auburn licensed apparel. That polo is fantastic. They got a new hoodie, a new quarter zip. So if you want to get game day ready, check them out and save big. The girls kind of get shafted. Taylor, sorry, there's no girl stuff, Auburn girl stuff, but maybe that's something we need to email them about. Get some Auburn lady stuff out there too. But show them some love. It's rowback.com. Taylor, Friday's scrimmage seems to be unanimously been talked about as a poor scrimmage for the offense. I know that you've read those reports. You've talked to people. After Friday, okay, put yourself back in Friday or Saturday. After you started reading all those reports, like what was your first thought? What was your first feelings? Which I assume is probably going to be like most fans after hearing defense dominated again.
Well, if the defense – are you kidding me?
This happens every time. Just go. It's going to be fine on audio. We'll get it fixed.
Okay. I'll try and fix that in a second. But and like why? This happened earlier, and I don't touch anything. But I think if it was roles reversed, it would be the same reaction about the defense.
Yeah.
If all the reports coming out of a scrimmage are offense looked incredible, offense looked flawless, insanely effective offensive outing, then the conversation around the defense would be, okay, everyone's hyping up Auburn's secondary, and rightfully so, but say the wide receivers had a massive day, then would it be okay? Should we be as high on Auburn's secondary as we were prior to the scrimmage?
Yeah.
So it doesn't concern me because of, some of the notes that you put out there also are, there's positive within the negative, if that makes sense. And I think something else that you have to look at is the fact that they're playing their teammates.
Yeah.
These are the guys that know all their strengths. They know their weaknesses. They know the playbook. They know the tendencies better than anyone that they're ever going to play. And what's practice for? Getting better at the things you're not great at.
That's so true. So true.
It would be, think about, I played high school sports, and when you go to practice, you're not repeatedly, going over the things that you're performing best at.
Yeah.
You focus on the things that, hey, this could use some work. So I don't walk away concerned. I think that's what practice is about. But then again, at this time of year, there's a lot of over-exaggeration, and some things I think need to be taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Let me tell you I'm going to give you another scenario of what would have happened had Jackson lit it up in the first scrimmage. What would have happened is you would not have been able to hear enough of, Hugh Freeze is taking it easy on him. There you go. They're setting up these scrimmages for success. They're taking it easy on them. You could not win in either direction. If you're positive, there's going to be some sort of negativity. I'm sorry, if there's good offense, there's going to be some sort of negativity. And then obviously if the defense shines like they did, there's going to be some amount of negativity. Now, I do think had there been just a little bit of a win offensively, like a touchdown pass or something like that, I think he did have a touchdown rush get called back. I think maybe it goes over a little bit easy, but it sounded like all the quarterbacks pretty much got shut down on the passing side. I'm getting like dizzy looking at
I
you.
know. I'm trying to fix it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a nightmare.
There it goes. Oh, it was back for a second. She's sideways. If you're not watching on video. All right, so
okay.
there we go. We got it.
Okay,
We got it.
okay.
I sort of lost my train of thought there for a second. Okay, yeah. So we had the bad scrimmage on Friday. The good news is it seems like there's been a pretty big bounce back over the practice. They had a closed practice on Monday, closed to the media, closed practice to the media on, Sunday, and a closed practice to the media on Monday. And it seems like both of those practices, Jackson threw, 3 or 4 touchdowns in the 11-on-11 period, not just through the air, because he does look really good when they do the pass skeleton and it's just wide receiver on DB, or it's just like a 7-on-7, not necessarily the 11-on-11 stuff. But he did do well in the 11-on-11 stuff, and it was in a multitude of ways. It was hitting some deep balls, and I think even scoring on some passing touchdowns in the red zone, which is something that's been, sort of a bugaboo of the last couple of years, having trouble getting bogged down in the red zone. Taylor, let me ask you. My dad said this the other day, and I totally agree with him. We were talking about the scrimmage on Friday, and he was like, I'm just going to say this. There's just no way they can be bad on offense. There's just no way. There's just too much talent. There's too much talent. There's too much to spread around for them to be bad on offense. I don't know if you feel the same way, but when you really go back and think about it and look at that roster, man, it would take a huge coaching blunder, in my opinion. Like, it would take a massive coaching blunder for this offense not to be really, really fun to watch.
I agree. And some of the issues that we saw last year, I mean, it wasn't all offensively. There were, special teams problems that occurred as well. But looking at the offense alone, there were some offensive line concerns. Seems as if that's been fixed. There were obviously some miscommunications with, the whole quarterback situation that we thought we would see improvement in from year 1 to year 2. All signs to point to that being a better situation this year. The young receivers that performed well last year now have a year of SEC football under their belt. You get the number 1 receiver out of the portal. You have running backs that the coaching staff is very high on and believe that they just, they haven't gotten their shot yet because of the stamina of Jarquez Hunter. So I think I agree with that statement, and I think it would come down to coaching. And I know Zach has talked about it a couple times. He's in kind of the wait and see mode with, I want to see what play calling looks like this year. And this may have just been me last year, but there were times when I was kind of wondering, is an offense that the personnel doesn't fit kind of being forced a little? Are we seeing a case of, I've done this for, a number of years and we've seen success. So if we do it enough, surely at some point we'll break through, but the personnel might not have fit.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if that was the case. I don't know if, a game plan, play calling wasn't being adjusted to the strengths of the guys that you have on the field. But I think, yeah, I mean, there's no gaping hole on the offensive side of the ball that would lead me to believe that there shouldn't be a pretty big improvement from what we saw last season.
To touch on what you just said, and I've had this conversation before, and you hear this label a lot of times in a negative connotation, like it's used in a negative light. And it's when you call a coach or a play caller a system guy. In other words, I got to do it sort of my way. I have a system that I run and I recruit to that system, and it's not really that malleable. And I think about guys like Mike Leach, and I think about guys that have, again, like they come in and it's like, you're not going to see Mike Leach you're never going to see him take a, power run team and try to, be a power run team. Like, he's going to spread it out no matter what his personnel is, and he's going to recruit to it. And I think Hugh's similar in that light. I think his system is not super malleable, but I don't think that has to be a bad thing. And when you can recruit these guys that you've recruited that look just as good as, those wide receiver lineups, that offensive lineup over at Ole Miss, once you get those guys in, I think you can really make some noise. And I think now you got those guys. So you have to be able to make it happen. If you don't really have any other, you can't really turn anywhere else. You can't really point fingers anywhere else if you can't make it happen this year. So we're going to talk about scrimmage, and then we're going to talk about play calling duties, scrimmage formats, and play calling duties here in just a second. We'll be back right after this. All right, what does it mean? We're fixed. We're back. We're straight up and down. All right, what does it mean when they say that scrimmages don't favor the offense? Let's talk about why that is. Do you have a take on that? Do you have an opinion on, you kind of touched on it earlier, but just why do people say, and it's true, those early fall scrimmages, they are always going to favor the defense?
Well, I think about it in the sense of like you said, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but the defense, those are your teammates. Those are the guys that, you're on the practice field with every day. Those are the guys that know your strengths, your weaknesses, all of your tendencies.
Yep.
And, they're going to see what's coming. They're going to be able to foresee what's about to occur, which is hard to play around. But when you look at just a scrimmage, a normal fall camp scrimmage, and then you look at game planning, that, that's going to shift things, because then you start to look at, okay, who's our opponent and what are their defensive weaknesses?
Exactly.
Because then, when you go to call plays in week 1 in Waco, that's what your game plan is going to be formatted around. So I feel like it's two very different things.
Exactly.
Because fall camp is the analogy of it's a whiteboard. It's a blank whiteboard. You have nothing on it. And you're saying, okay, let's fill it with anything and everything that we might do this season. And
exactly.
Then, you kind of narrow that down into a smaller circle when you're starting to game plan. So I hope this is answering the question, but I just think that it's so broad when you're game planning for an opponent. Yeah.
I think it's spot on. So just to kind of expound on that, Hugh said about Friday's practice, he wanted to have 30 plays for the ones. Okay. So let's talk about those 30 plays. Those 30 plays are not going to be 30 plays that are game planned for Auburn's defense. So it's not like they're going to say, okay, let's put a script together to attack Auburn's defense, because what if that's not the things you need to be working on? Like, what if we feel like we can kind of pick our defense apart with the short, quick game, but we're still not working on the down and distance, third and long. We're not working on the down the field, over the middle pass game. Like, does that do you any good? I guess is what I'm trying to say. So no, I think you go out there and you script 30 plays of things you need to work on. We struggle running the ball. Okay, we're going to work on a couple of the run schemes that we're struggling on the most. And then we're going to work on some of the passing game. There's no real sequencing as far as you're not like getting in a rhythm in attacking a defense. You're kind of working on the plays that you work on. And then the defense, the defense already knows your playbook for the most part, so they can kind of defend based on that. I just don't think it's what you typically see. Like next week, Auburn's going to start game planning for Baylor. So that's going to be a whole different thing. That's when you're going to throw the scout team out there, and you're going to line up in the formations that Baylor's going to give you. And then you're going to script your plays based off of what Baylor is going to do, what their tendencies are. Like you said, it's just a completely different ball game. So I can be honest, I don't know how any teams move the ball in scrimmages, really, like the way they're really set up in these early fall camp practices. So that's why I try not to overreact on the positive or the negative. Like Jackson threw, I think, maybe 2 touchdowns on Sunday and another touchdown yesterday. We're recording this on Tuesday. So another touchdown on Monday. They're off on Tuesday. I don't know how much I really want to get super pumped up for that either. I think it's just try to get better and then get ready for Baylor when it's time to get ready for Baylor.
And what in the world is going on? I'm probably giving the entire audience vertigo, so I apologize. But
I'm closing my eyes.
Literally, it's a nightmare. I don't know what's happening. My phone is getting possessed. But what I was going to say is you also have to think about this in terms of this isn't if we win, we're 1-0. If we quote unquote lose, we're 0-1. This is the purpose of this is not who's going to win this scrimmage. The purpose is, are we improving in the areas that we need to improve?
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad we talked that out. I hope everybody else, if you're kind of on the fence, I think this is the proper way to view what's happened over the last several days. So last thing I want to talk about, this play calling fiasco on Twitter that's just blowing up, and it's just the dumbest thing ever. So they interviewed some assistant coaches on Monday, I believe, Monday evening, and Derek Nix was one. And I think he was asked about play calling duties. And he said something to the tune of, I handle first down strategy / play calling. Ken Austin handles third down strategy and play calling, strategy being the key word. And Hugh calls the plays, and he has the authority to overrule anything we say. And I've seen a ton of people completely overreacting over those statements, some by our own media, where it's like it's something that's out of this world, like something that you've never heard of before. We've never heard of before. And I think it's blowing my mind that this is even a conversation.
Well, when you try and think about things logically, which I know can be hard sometimes,
yeah,
do the people that are all wound up about this think that at every single other Division I football program in the country, it is the head coach or whoever your play caller is alone,
and not
one other person is contributing, not one other person is saying, hey, here's what I'm seeing, this is this might be a good suggestion. It's let me put some earplugs in and just focus because my thoughts are all that I need.
So why do they put people in the box? Why do people go upstairs with a headset on?
Good view?
Just to get a good view. They like the concession stand. We need more room on the sidelines. Like, why do people go up into the box? Since the invention of headsets, this has been a thing. Okay. This is just for an example, pretend I'm Hugh. Okay. Humor me for a second. Pretend I'm Hugh. This is what's happening. Okay. Now I can't say I've been on a headset, but I've been on headsets before. So I know exactly kind of how this goes. Okay, coach, it's first down. What's my look? Okay, it's this. All right, what's the tendency here? Okay, it's this. I like 34 counter. We good with that? Okay, Jackson 34 counter. Run it. That's it. Derek Nix is not calling in a play to Jackson Arnold. Ken Austin is not calling in a play to Jackson Arnold. The only person that Jackson Arnold will hear will be Hugh Freeze's voice. And a lot of times it's nothing more than confirmation. It's nothing more that, hey, I like this right here. You got any objections? Do you see anything to where I don't need to do this? Or, hey, we need a big third down, Kent. What are you thinking right here? What's the situation called for? And he says, hey, I like this. And you're like, boom, I love that. That's a great call. Jackson, let's run that. Let's run smash. Whatever we got to do to make it happen. I don't think that's that controversial. I don't think it's that sort of revolutionary. I think it's pretty much how it goes across the whole country. There's a video clip. It's my favorite clip. I love Tyler Siskey. Okay. I love Tyler Siskey. And this kind of involves Hugh Freeze. He's coaching at Alabama. Okay. He gets caught on camera. He's got binoculars in the booth. Okay. Has binoculars on. He's got the sign. He yells to the guy in front of him with the headset on. Okay. he says smash. They're running smash. So the guy in the headset is not the defensive coordinator. He then has to relay that information to the defensive coordinator and says, hey, coach, they're about to run smash. I think we need to go with this coverage. That's how it works. Like, that's kind of how things work in college football. Am I crazy here? Am I just taking crazy pills?
No, you're not taking crazy pills. And my thought also is, well, I have two thoughts on this. One, is this just another situation where, the staff is being very transparent, which I appreciate, because everyone complains about coach speak. Give us some information. I mean, sometimes it might be, push the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
This is too much. But could it be, okay, you're being very honest, and I appreciate that. But then, people are taking taking this out of context a little bit and running with it. I don't, that's something that we've seen. And I just, what are assistant coaches supposed to do?
What do they do?
During
what are their
the
jobs
game
on game day?
If this isn't it, if this is such a, if this is so outrageous, if this is such an outrageous thought, but also thinking about this, like we were talking about the scrimmages, if the roles were reversed and the reports that came out were Hugh Freeze, say the assistant spoke to the media, they were asked about play calling, and they said, we have absolutely no input. He doesn't ask us for our opinion. He decides what the play call is going to be. Yeah. He calls the play, and we all, just sit there with our tails tucked between our legs quietly. Then everyone would say, why isn't he utilizing his resources? Why would he bring these assistant coaches in? Does he not trust them? Does he not like his hires? Were they bad hires? Why isn't he letting them give their input? Why isn't he asking what they see? So again, it's a lose-lose situation, but this time of year, this is the stuff that gains traction. But I'll say this, if Auburn's offense, plays, let's say, through 3 games and looks really good,
nobody will care.
No one will care.
They won't care about that. They won't care about golf. They'll tell him to go they'll reserve tee times for him.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you really didn't care. As long as he wins, if your opinion doesn't remain the same, if the offense looks good, then you're disingenuous from the beginning. You don't really care. You're just mad because the offense has struggled. So that's my take anyway. It blows my mind when I see stuff like that and people freak out. I'm like, have you never played football, or have you never known a coach that you can just call and ask, or do you just not understand how this whole thing works? It's high school level. Like, we're talking when high school guys have headsets, they do the same thing. Position coaches will help the coordinator. They'll say, hey, I like this, I like that, or I'm seeing, I got their signs, coach, they're about to run this, and then you call the defense for that. So it's part of the game, and it's been that way ever since they've created headsets. And I would imagine more than likely, if you ever watch golf and you have a golfer and a caddy and you're listening to their conversation, and the insert golfer says, I think I like my 9 here. I think I'm going to hit 9. And then the caddy just says, or he says, what do you think? And he says, I like that. I think that works. I bet that's about 95% of the conversations that happen in the headset. Hey, Derek, I like this look right here. I want to run this. What do you think? Coach, that looks good. I like that. Roll with it. And then very few times do you say, no, I think you need to go with this, or I'm going to try to veto that, or I'm going to throw in something else. I would imagine it's more confirmation than anything. I think that's a lot with a play caller. Hey, if I can just have some kind of confirmation on things, it makes me feel good about the call that I'm about to make. So again, totally making a mountain out of a molehill, out of absolutely nothing. So I think that's going to be all for tonight. Taylor's you got something big that's going down. I want you to tell everybody about your new gig that's going down. I think this is big stuff.
I do. I'm very excited about it. I have the opportunity this season, as of very recently, a couple of days ago, it was finalized. I had the opportunity to be a part of the Jack State broadcast. I'll be doing their sideline reporting for a couple of their games on ESPN Plus this season, which is very exciting. It'll be a new adventure. I'll still be in Auburn. I'll still be in Tuscaloosa throughout, football, basketball season, and so on and so forth. But there will be a couple weekends that I'm up there with Charles Kelly, which is very fun. Awesome. A great first year for me to be doing it, kind of, to be able to see the excitement around the beginning of the Charles Kelly era. So I'm very excited about, a new adventure, grateful for the opportunity, and it should be fun.
You got to learn that roster.
Yeah.
You got to start learning that roster. I'm sure that's going to be, every Auburn player back and forth. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit to get the team, the new team down. So that's awesome. Taylor's doing big things. We're thankful to have her helping out at the barn as well. And she's going to be with us throughout the season, in and out as we go and create all of our football and basketball content throughout the rest of the year. So guys, I really appreciate you listening. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.